Send those over to you, Raj.
Oh, do video.
Are you down to edit? I'm going to do the video, but this is like, now it's on. I hope our audio is in it. Everybody just hears us fucking bitching at each other.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Shut up, guys.
Yeah. Fucking try.
Steely resolve and sure grittiness.
It starts with an attitude. We need swagger, okay? Regardless of what happens out there. Doesn't matter. Keep your swagger.
I forgot it said fucking mock draft. Oh God, what am I doing?
Oh
God. Oh God.
Oh, Jesus.
I forgot it said mock draft. Everybody thinks we're doing a fucking mock draft now.
This show.
Yes, that needs to go on record. Thank God.
Oh, I am trying to.
All right.
I wish we were doing another mock draft. It was fun.
Welcome. Hello, everybody. Welcome into the 5-Hole Fantasy Hockey Podcast. As you might have guessed, we got the top line back together. Joined with me today, Zach and Raj.
Hey.
And I'm your host, TJ. And what we're doing today is we're kicking off the divisional previews that we got. This is the first installment here. Each division is going to be split into two parts. And today we're starting with the Metro. You know, the way we've been doing this for a long time, and something Zach and I came up with years and years ago, like it would kind of be boring to, like one episode would be really good. And then one episode would be boring if we took standings and like did the 4 best teams and then the worst 4 teams. So we do the top 2, the bottom 2, and then we do the middle 4 together. So that way, like each episode has a little bit of something in there. But yeah, today we're covering the Rangers, the Hurricanes, the Devils, and the Blue Jackets. And there's lots of changes across all these teams. Even some changes that happened today with the Carolina Hurricanes. And it's like, it's unconfirmed, which is something that, you know, I guess we're going to have to cover this from all angles because we'll get to it when we get to Carolina, but Evgeny Kuznetsov's agent came out and said that, like, oh, maybe he's not going to the KHL. You never know what happened. We're keeping all doors open, blah, blah, blah. So, like, it's political, right? Like, he's probably still going over. But we'll get there when we get there. If anything comes out later in the offseason, we'll cover it then. So,
It sounds so believable, though. It sounds believable.
Yeah, I mean, fuck, he went to the Hershey Bears. They put him down in the AHL for a minute, and yeah, so it's just been a up and down ride for Kuznetsov after the player assistance program, and his last couple of years just haven't been good. So that's that. We're gonna kick it off with the Columbus Blue Jackets because we want to start with a bang.
Yeah. Starting off strong. Like you gotta start off.
But
you gotta put your best foot forward, kid.
Hell yeah. I want to plug a couple things before we get going. The guys over at Dauber, we've been doing this for a few years. They have given us 15 Fantasy Hockey Guide promo codes to give away. Now, that means that we have 12 to give away because 3 of them are for us. And the other 12, we're happy to give away. And I think like we're thinking of like, what's the best way to like force engagement and also do kind of a raffle at the same time. And there's a bunch of different things that we're thinking of. You can sub to the YouTube. You can, join the Discord if you're not in already. But there's 2,500 people in the Discord. So how are we going to be like, oh, you have to join the Discord? That's 2,500 people that can't win that giveaway. So we're trying to figure out a way to get as many people involved. I think one of the best ways that we could do it is to leave a 5-star review on Apple if you haven't already, or if you already have. I guess screenshot us or sub to the YouTube or something
and do it again.
Just like,
make another one.
Support the show in some way and send me a screenshot on the Discord or a Twitter or, somehow support the show in some way. And then just send me a screenshot and I'll enter you into the raffle and we'll give it away. I don't know. What do you say at the end of these previews? We got 8 episodes here. So we'll do it at the end of the previews, or maybe we'll give away 5 after we do the Metro, or 3. I don't know. We'll figure it out, guys. But
I think there's always room. I think there's always room for if there's like an outstanding post. If someone wants to make an outstanding post on Twitter or something.
Oh, what? Just the shill for us?
Just yeah.
Yeah. These guys got huge wieners. No, don't say that.
You don't have to lie.
We're live on fucking
You don't have
YouTube.
to lie
Jesus
to the
Christ.
world for us.
Yeah, we don't need to lie.
No, be truthful.
All right. So we're going to start off with Columbus. Some other plugs I want to do before we get in here. We are live on YouTube. If you guys want to hop over to the YouTube, we're doing Monday mocks. We're doing just any day mocks, really. As soon as we get a full league, we're just getting a mock. I think we've got like 6 done already. Working on the 7th. You guys can follow us on Twitter at FHF Hockey. We got the Fantasy Hockey Discord. Let's get into it. It's Columbus Blue Jackets, man. They not the best team. Not the best team to start off with, but we're saving the best for in the middle, I guess. Columbus, 27, 43, and 12. They were 29th in the league, last in the Metro. Goals for per game, they were 27th. Goals allowed, 31st, second most in the league. Power play, second worst in the league. In terms of off nights, they are ranked 29th. They have 21 off nights and 12 back-to-backs. Let's get into some of the question marks surrounding this team. They don't have a coach yet, and I think that's going to be a big one going into it. McClellan, Evison, and Woodcroft. So Dean Evison and Jay Woodcroft and Todd McClellan are the rumored coaches there. Apparently it fell apart with McClellan, so he might not be the guy. Maybe that's a numbers thing. Maybe they revisit. But I think that kind of like is going to hang over the rest of these storylines here because Zach, you and I both wrote about Patrick Laine and whether or not like they get a coach. Maybe he wants to stay depending on the coach. I don't know. But let's get into Laine, man. What do you got there?
What, as far as Laine goes?
Yeah.
It's just unclear on whether he's gonna play at all. And without him, honestly, they're starting to look really, really young. So they're gonna have to give a lot of those young guys a lot more time that they probably weren't planning on doing. Because otherwise you're just stuck with Johnny Gaudreau, Sean Monahan, and then a ton of young guys.
Yeah, that didn't even work out for Calgary in the end. So, I mean, even minus the young guys part. But I'm right there with you. Like, does he play? And if he does he play for Columbus at all? He's only played in 59% of Columbus games since he was traded there last January or 2 Januaries ago. And like, you know, he was brought in to kind of get Johnny Gaudreau going. You figure, or Johnny Gaudreau was brought in to get Laine going. You figure you have a elite playmaker, elite goal scorer. Didn't click. They only factored in on Gaudreau only factored in on 6 of Laine's goals as the primary assister. Where do you guys think Laine winds up if they do wind up trading him? Teams are approaching Laine, teams are approaching Don Waddell, and they can't put a trade package together until they can talk to him. They can't talk to him until he clears the player assistance program. Is there anywhere that you guys want to see him land?
I don't think he's playing in
no
Columbus.
matter where he does go, they're going to have to like pay some of that money. People aren't going to pay for that contract when this is what they possibly could be getting.
Yeah. Do you get Winnipeg Laine? Do you get Columbus Laine? Do you get a motivated Laine? Do you get the Fortnite Laine? Yeah. I mean, it's tough. Like, they're not going to get true value for this guy.
But what is true value now? Like, when's, like, in all honesty, though, like, when's the last time he was super viable?
I think Winnipeg for sure.
Mm-hmm.
It was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago.
Early
like
years
4 or
ago.
5 years.
Five years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Close to it for sure. You know, he's got an $8.7 million cap hit. The only teams that can afford that right now, Anaheim, Calgary, Detroit, Buffalo, Utah, San Jose, Montreal. Before Quentin Byfield just signed like 2 hours ago, Los Angeles was close, but they just, I think it was like 6.5 million for Byfield for 5 years or something in that range. But yeah, Anaheim, I wonder if they could like swing a Zegras deal. Because I know they're like thinking about Zegras is going to be every single trade rumor out there is going to have Zegras in it.
I mean, I would be down for that. I'm not going to lie to you. That would be interesting. But I mean, that doesn't make me like Laine more. I mean, I'm not going to lie about that. That would make me like Zegras more.
I don't think I'm destined to ever like the Anaheim Ducks. Now with Cutter Gauthier and all that shit. Like Ryan Kessler, that whole Ducks thing. I don't know.
I
Yeah,
didn't really like him either.
fair
For
enough.
other reasons.
Some storylines following these guys. Yeah, what do you guys got on Columbus? Like, what are your takeaways for this offseason?
I think like Columbus is gonna be shitty. That's not a very bold take, I don't think. But when I brought up their roster, I actually don't think they're gonna be as shitty as I thought. If they can do something with Line, like get any piece for Line, I think they're not bad. I mean, like, it's cool that they have Johnny Hockey. Sean Monahan's there. Like, one thing the team definitely needs is stability and some sort of structure and whatever. So having Monahan and Goudreau, at least two guys who at least know each other and have played together for more than a couple of days. And then, I mean, Kirill Marchenko is pretty cool. But that could be okay. Like, this team isn't going to be a good team, but they might not be last, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I really I kind of want to like the second line. Like, if for some reason I like Fantilli. I just think he could be cool. Chinnikov, I've always wanted him to be good for some reason as well. So there's like a lot of like, maybe they're not the worst. And I think if they get a little bit of goaltending, and these things that they've tried, if they work out at all, I think they're not the worst team in the league, which I was just expecting them to be the worst team in the league.
Yeah. Not in a playoff spot just yet.
No.
I think you really kind of hit the nail on the head, or kind of where I saw you going with that is kind of touching on what I said earlier, like them being young, and that might not be a bad thing in all honesty. So you talked about Marchenko and Chinnikov, like they're 23 and they're like the older part of the group.
I know. I'm looking at it. It's like Boone Jenner is the only one that's throwing up the average.
He's like 31 or something like that. But like Fantilli is 19. They just had what I think was a really good draft. They got Caden Lindstrom, who I told you, TJ, I wanted on the Flyers. Like, I wanted Caden.
No shot. He was falling. Yeah.
And CBJ took him. And then they also took Evan Gardner in the second round. He was the fourth goalie off the board. So, like, I like the moves that they're making. They have one of my favorite systems in the entire league. Thank you.
It's super young, and like, you know, this team is hopefully going to be together for a while. I mean, even their backup goaltending situation now with Daniil Tarasov, you know, young. Jack Reeves just signed a 2-year deal, young. So this is a team that's going to keep on moving. Let's get into. Go ahead.
About David Jiricek. Like,
yeah,
he's young.
Yeah.
Like, he's
one
going
thing I was
going to
throw in
rock back there.
Without Line, they don't have anybody who hit 200 shots last year. So they need someone who's going to take some shots.
God damn. Yeah.
If this team's going to do anything.
In terms of their offseason, they have added Sean Monahan, like we've covered a bit. They added Jack Johnson, too, bringing up that age average for sure. They have gotten rid of Alexander Tessier, Alex Nylander, Adam Boquist. Boquist is in Florida now. That's going to be interesting. I'm excited to get there because there's a lot going on with that back end. The next segment that we're going to do for each team is just like the projected top targets for each team, and we're going to give 5 here. Now our lists are pretty different, but let's get into it. What do you got?
This one they are. On this one they are. So you went like total opposite of me. Well, kind of, at least on this first one. I went Johnny Gaudreau as my number 1 target on the Blue Jackets. Boone Jenner number 2, because I love Boone Jenner. He just does everything.
I know.
And I think that, and so, and the way I did these projected top targets, I'm not saying like I'm going to take Boone Jenner in the 3rd round. I'm saying I'm gunning for Boone Jenner because I can get him for value, and I know that he's worth it. So then I'm doing Sean Monahan Adam Fantilli, number 4, because I truly think Adam Fantilli is going to take a big jump. Someone's going to be getting minutes on this friggin' team. Someone's going to have to shoot that. Like it. I know you hate that argument, but I love time on ice, and Adam Fantilli better get more of it. And then lastly, I have Zach Werenski, just because he's going to be on that power play. And, in all honesty, they don't have a great power play in general. So
yeah,
I put him last.
Yeah. Werenski was my first target. And I guess I see where you're coming from. Like, you're ranking your guys either on value or, realistic kind of thing there. For me, it was just like, down the ADP board. And that's where Werenski had an ADP of 66. He's the first Blue Jacket of, we're doing these mocks. We're building an ADP around it. Werenski's the first guy to go. Now, we talked about Laine. He's played 53% of Columbus's games over the last 3 years. Werenski's played 61%. Now, he gets hurt a lot. A lot of that was dragged down by one season where he played like 10 games or something. But an injury risk with Werenski.
He just got that random puck to the face. It just ran up his stick and just
his mullet.
Yeah,
skated over that mullet. So he hasn't played a ton of games. If you have an IR plus spot, I dig it because, even if he plays 60 games, you have an IR plus spot that you are for 20 games gifted a streamer spot. So, 66, that's a 5th round pick. I'm not super into that, but depending on where he falls in your draft, I don't mind it. Almost 2 blocks per game, which is pretty cool. He has put up a 66 point pace, but the huge caveat on that pace, just because he is not going to play a full season. Johnny Gaudreau is my number 2.
That's awesome, Hall. But what happens when you have 4 people that are IR possible? You got 2 IR spots.
Yeah, I know. The more you run these guys up
every freaking year, at some point in time, you are overloaded with IR.
I had Johnny Gaudreau as my number 2 guy. Not like his first season in Columbus, he put up 74 points in 80 games and then 60 points this most recent year. 20% drop in production. Shots dropped. Time on ice dropped. Has not had a double-digit shooting percentage year in Columbus. His shooting percentage dropped. And all of this, again, kind of lies on who's going to be the coach. Like, do you get an offensive coach? Do you get Todd McClellan, bringing defense back into it? I don't know. So Jay Woodcroft, Dean Evison, Todd McClellan, those are your 3 guys. I'm looking at, Minnesota and I don't know. Oilers, like Woodcroft would be cool but he doesn't have a McDavid to go with. I don't know. The rest of my top targets were Monahan, Merzlikins, and Fantilli. And on Fantilli, I'm right there with you, like just over half point per game. And I think there is a huge potential for growth because I'll agree with you, not that somebody needs to score because they could go 82 games with 1 goal a game with this roster, but somebody's got to get minutes. You have to put somebody out on the ice. So yeah, I'm with you there. And if he's your second line center, like I love Chinikov, he's going to be my breakout guy and my sleeper guy for this team. So big on Chinikov. Kent Johnson is your other winger if we're going off DFO here. So I think Fantilli could make something happen. Boone Jenner, man, I don't think he's a top target anymore. If he's a 3rd line guy, if he's a second power play guy, that's tough cookies in Columbus. Like to be bottom 6, bottom power play. I don't know. It might be Dunzo for him. Might be Dunzo.
Could be. My list is the same. I mean, there's not much. There's just so little variation on this team. Truth be told, I am not hunting down anyone on Columbus in my draft.
But if they fall to you, I'll take
Gaudreau, Boone. Yeah. I mean, and Fantilli and Marchenko are the players that I like. Chinikov, but I mean, the young guys are probably going to be overdrafted. And the team is so sketchy. I'm just not risking probably having to overdraft a young guy. Like Fantilli might have a great season, but
Fantilli didn't get drafted in any of our mock drafts just yet. So they could be, I think, as streamer things, like that's where they're going to wind up. But we're doing 12 teamers. So if you're in a bigger bigger league than 12 team, then they'll probably get drafted.
They're just like, the team is so unreliable in every possible way. I think there's better people out there. There's better options out there in every case on this list.
You know that Columbus is going to have one of those good streaming schedule weeks, and that's when we're going to be talking about these guys.
Well, and like you said, like they have almost no off nights too. So it's not like they have a great schedule or anything. Like sometimes Anaheim has a crap team, but ends up with all the off nights, so that makes them a little more valuable. But these guys are.
It's going to be tough. I feel like the only guy I'm really like is even on my draft board is going to be Werenski. Like if I go the rest of the drafts without having Gaudreau, I'm fine with it. You know, I'll be all right with that.
I agree, but if he's there at a decent time, I'm going to take him.
Yeah. And even for Werenski, like he's not high on my draft board, but he's on my draft board. That's all I'm saying.
Now you have Merzlikins on your list, and in all honesty, I am in no means interested in him.
Well, he's on my list because nobody else is on my list, and that says more about Columbus than it does for Merzlikins, I think. So
I'll give you
that's kind of why.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm going to get into that a little bit too.
I was just going to say, if your league doesn't count goalie stats, Merzlikins is a great option. But.
Yeah. Just for, I don't know, for moral
support. Count wins, save percentage, goals
any
against,
goalie category,
or any of those. I'm not sure I want to take them.
Their power play units are going to be, pretty much cut and dried. You can look at this roster and pretty much figure out who the best guys are going to be. I do think there's a little bit of wiggle room around, like for me, the locks are Gaudreau, Monahan, Werenski, Fantilli. Then is it like Kent Johnson? Is it Marchenko? Is it Chinnikov? Like all these guys are talented and I think are going to have spins on that top unit. So there's going to be a lot of movement, I think, with that fifth piece.
I agree. I put Johnson there in my list. But if it wasn't him, I would think it's Marchenko. And then on that second team unit, I put two defensemen here.
So did I, yeah.
Roby, who has power play experience, and I also put Damon Severson, who has power play experience.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's like they've really excelled, but they have played on the power play, and I think that they could do. I could totally see them doing a two defenseman second unit. It's just believable.
I could see them throwing Juracek in there too. Like I feel like it is going to be 2D, but those 2D are going to be cycling too. So it's going to be hard to really own any depth defenseman. Like if you're just looking for bangs, then Provi, any of these guys are worth having. But if you're looking for, you're in a deep league, second power play guys start to look good, then I don't feel like there's any stability here because I feel like Juracek and then eventually like Matejchuk and they're going to have guys that they're going to want to give those reps to. So I don't know if they go that route.
I don't know that I see Juracek as that kind of defenseman. Do you?
I feel like they're going to want to test him out there for sure.
Man,
like is he going to be a staple? Probably not. No. For me, for the depth players, the streamer candidates, we kind of covered all those guys, like the young guys, right? Like Kent Johnson's probably going to go on a run. Marchenko is going to go on a run. Chinnikov, like I feel like all these guys are going to be at some point, on a hot streak, and we're going to have to talk about them. Like it's going to happen. It's not going to be, in my mind, like a full season type of thing, but we're going to talk about all these guys at some point throughout the year. So Johnson, Chinnikov, Marchenko, Jenner, Severson, Provorov, Marchenko.
I like Tarasov in this streamer section as well. In all honesty, I like Daniil Tarasov as well because we kind of just got done shitting on Elvis Merzlikins a little bit. Like it might be okay to now talk about Daniil Tarasov.
Like, and let me pad
as numbers go. He's damn good. And
I want to pad that up a little bit here. Jack Reeves just signed a 2-year deal. Year one is a 2-way, which means for those of you that don't know that he doesn't need to clear waivers if he's in the NHL and needs to go to the AHL. Year 2, however, is a 1-way deal, which means that if he is in the NHL, whether it be by injury or, a test run or whatever, to go back down to the AHL or to the minors in any fashion, he needs to clear waivers, and there's going to be teams that would probably take him. Is that a death blow for Elvis Merzlikins? Like, is this the last year where he's like their guy? Do they start to go Tarasov Greaves after this? You know what I mean? Like, if so. 25, 26, he's a one-way, Jet Greaves is a one-way contract. Do we see Merzlikins dealt at the trade deadline to somebody that needs backup goaltending, or maybe a contender, their starter went down? Do we start to see, like you were saying, do we start to see Tarasov starting to, turn the tides on volume?
Creep into
exactly.
The percentage. You know what I mean?
So
start taking away some of that percentage. And honestly, I think the answer is yes. Can you name a time where you truly believe that they were 100% behind Elvis Merzlikins?
And Tarasov wasn't so bad last year. In his games.
Tarasov had a 908 last year, but there were those years where Korpisalo was in the mix. Like there were so many different times where, do you honestly believe that they were 100% behind him? And I don't. I wasn't then either, so I don't blame them as the whole thing. But yeah, so I do think it's very feasible that you might not see Elvis Merzlikins in Columbus very much longer.
Yeah, and that's another reason for me to slide him down my draft board. Probably entirely off my draft board is because I don't think he's not going to get the volume. I don't think like he's gotten 53% of Columbus's games over the last 3 years. Played 41 last year to Tarasov's 24. Now that's not 82 because there was Jet Greaves in there. There were some other guys in there. And Merzlikins is like oft injured too. So there's something. Is there anybody that you guys like? I couldn't find really anyone for a bounce back or a breakout. I have Chinnikov that I'd love to get into, but like regression, I don't feel like anybody did good enough that would, you know what I mean? Like is
much worse.
Negative regression at least. Like, is there anybody that really overperformed in Columbus? I just couldn't find one. Maybe Monahan. He was shooting 20% in Winnipeg, so like that's probably going to come down.
That's who I had. I have Sean Monahan, and that's only because Columbus seems to breed regression. Hey.
Love you, Blake.
So what I have here is for the bulk
How'd you do
of his
that?
career, he's been 0.7
you
points,
buy a Mac,
0.7 points per game. And
Sorry, Raj made a heart on the camera and hearts came up. Did you? Sorry.
Yeah, I did. They like.
And you were talking about Sean Monahan. I tried so hard to pay attention.
Yeah, it's not. Don't get me wrong.
The hearts are more exciting than Sean Monahan.
But my whole thing is, Johnny Gaudreau was also at that same like 0.7 points per game often and dropped down. So if he's regressing, Sean Monahan's going to regress too.
And how long has it been
on Columbus? Unless
how long has it been since Monahan
this year? But I don't believe that.
I think the last time like Monahan and Gaudreau were good together was it 2018-19? Is it that far back? I think it might be. Because, I mean, Monahan, he had his hip issues and stuff, but he was just hot garbage. I remember Mikhail Backlund was starting to beat him out, and then, like, it's just, man, that was tough. But he really looked good. And,
I mean, Monahan's the leading goal scorer as of last year's stats.
Oh, God, that sucks. That hurts. That hurts. All right, let me talk about Igor Chinnikov because something that's actually exciting on this team. For me, he's the potential breakout. And to be honest, he's my top line. Like, I know Daily Faceoff has one thing, but if I'm constructing the roster and we don't know what a coach who we don't know, it doesn't exist, like what he's going to do with this lineup. But Chinnikov, 9th in the league in 5-on-5 goals per 60, right behind Philip Forsberg, for those of you keeping track. 80th in all strengths goal per 60, just ahead somebody you might have heard of named McDavid. So dial it in, Igor Chinnikov, the next McDavid. They are the same in one stat category. Obviously, that's sarcasm. Monahan is added to their line. Johnny Gaudreau is another playmaker. Moransky's out there. Gaudreau was 26th in 5-on-5 assists per 60. Moransky 34th in 5-on-5 assists per 60. So like there's a couple of guys out there that can get the puck to him. And Chinnikov last year only 15-10 average time on ice. Like contingent, obviously, if he gets top line minutes, power play 1 minutes, there could be a breakout there. All the ingredients are there. It might not spell it out letter for letter, but it definitely rhymes with breakout. And I got Chinnikov, if given the right deployment, I could see him being kind of a 60-ish point guy, and that would be super fun. Because like you, Raj, like I think I'm rooting for Chinnikov, and I don't know why. I think it's because they drafted him out of left field and didn't even have a fucking picture, right?
I love that move when they just what?
Yeah, no idea.
I like him, but I still like Adam. I still like Adam.
I'm with you. Like I think Fantilli is somebody
I can't get off. And honestly, I hope that Fantilli and Chinnikov are on the same line. Like I know you were talking about Chinnikov being on the first line, which hey, that would be awesome. But I would love to see Chinnikov and Fantilli on the.
Well, what's tough here is like Voronkov.
Man, that would just be a young, awesome, fast flying line. It would be cool.
Dmitry Voronkov and Kirill Marchenko all have very similar rate stats to Igor Chinnikov. So I mean, it could be any three of these guys. So very well could happen that Kent Johnson, Fantilli, and Chinnikov are the guys. It's just I like Chinnikov the best. Maybe he gets some looks. I mean, Alex Nylander's gone. His minutes are up for grabs. Nylander was, making some serious buzz last year. So that's where it's at. We already kind of covered the goalies. Merzlikins is butt cheeks, and Jack Reeves is on his way. And Daniil Tarasov is kind of cool. Top prospects. We talked about Lindstrom. We talked about Matejchuk a little bit. I got Raj. I love your little note here. I hate prospects. Gavin Brindley and Zach. You had Jordan DeMay.
Yeah.
Very fun. I hope we start to see these guys pretty soon. Columbus has done a really good job drafting. There it is. Should we move on to the Rangers?
My favorite prospect. One of my favorites.
Yeah. If we could do 30 minutes on Columbus, I think we could do.
Well, there's 15 minutes of bullshit at the top too.
Right.
So, yeah.
Take more time.
I know. Definitely got to get in game shape here. All right, New York Rangers, guys, they were top of the league, 55, 23, and 4. Goals for per game, they were 7th. Goals allowed, they also had the 7th best. Power play, they had the 3rd best power play in the league. And their off nights rank make them very, very interesting. They have the 3rd most off nights this year. Only Chicago and Anaheim have more. 14 back-to-backs. It's high in the back-to-backs list, but still, that's 14 guaranteed games for Jonathan Quick, which still leave a shit ton of room for Igor Shesterkin here. Question marks, I couldn't really... Now that I'm reading Raj's here, I think you're right. That might be the question mark. I had Laviolette as my question mark. It's just because, he coached the Flyers at one point, and every single team that he coaches, there is a definitive year, and I don't think it's going to be this year for the Rangers, but there's a definitive year where it's obvious that he loses the room. Like you look at the teams that he coached, like Nashville was good, absolutely garbage. Washington, good, garbage. The Flyers, good, garbage. And I see that coming for the New York Rangers just because the pattern is there, but it will not be this year, I don't think. Like they just won the fucking President's Trophy, so it's not going to happen. But yeah, I like yours a lot more, Raj. Why don't you take it away?
I mean, my point was Lafreniere is a question. He came into the league number 1 for a reason because he was a pretty great player, big boy, lots of good things going for him, and then he kind of stunk. Like not even kind of, he stunk. And I made a huge point of that.
I remember. I was there.
Yeah, I think you were there. But like he has gotten better consistently. Like actually consistently, if you look over the past 3 years,
he was great in the playoffs this year too.
Yeah, and I mean they do say the experts, the hockey insiders do say that sometimes big sort of more physical guys take a while to settle in, and it honestly seems like that's what's happening. In his first year, he was way down in the bottom 30% of the league at his position. Jumped up to 60 in the 60s the next season, and then last year he was in the top 80th or close to 80th percentile last year, which is pretty steady improvement. I mean, the team is. I don't know. I think the team is pretty great, and I think he's probably going to be great, but also a year ago he was absolutely unownable. Like it's so he could either be a superstar or not even worth anything, and that's
the one thing that's really hard for Lafreniere to overcome is just that there is no room on that top power play for him whatsoever. Like this is a team that has an absolutely stacked top power play, and without an injury, he's just not getting up there. But what's nice is if you look at last year's stats, he was able to, I think it was like 63 or something points. I'm going to look it up here, but I think he had like 8 power play points and still put up plus 57 points on the year. Where is he at? 6 power play points. So this is a guy who's still like a 60-point player and doesn't, I don't want to say need the top power play, but this is, if he gets top power play, like this is an 80-point guy. Easy. So for me, he's not going to, but I could see it.
We talked about time on ice. He got 2 full minutes. Time on ice, like, for the full year, 20 more points. That's what you want to see. So then if he gets more, say he gets 18 minutes this year, I want to see him, up at
63, 65. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
that would be exciting.
His minutes are leading to points, right? Like his per 60 is kind of holding true. Sometimes you get those guys. I'm looking at you, Nils
Andre Kasha.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Where you get your... Well, I'm not looking at Andre Kasha. You
Nobody
get those guys who are like magic for 13 minutes, and then they get,
Ollie Walls,
minutes,
yeah, Wallstrom.
Wallstrom, yeah. And it's the same, right? So he seems to be like a legitimate player who is what he is, and the more time he gets... 28 goals.
Hell yeah.
That's not bad. That's not a bad season. So
what's really nice, and I'm going to get super in depth with it with Panarin, is Laviolette coming in, like huge changes to a bunch of players, and it's hard to tell whether or not they're sustainable. Panarin almost scored 50 fucking goals this year. He has always been like a 20 and 60 kind of player. He doesn't put up goals, and for him to have over 300 shots and to have close to 50, I think he had 49. That's insane. Is that all Laviolette? Is it an outlier year, or did Laviolette just be like, if you don't come back to the bench with at least 2 shots on goal every single shift, you're fucking fired, right? Like there's a huge difference between Lafreniere and Panarin, and even like Kakko to a small degree. Huge difference. I mean, career years for Panarin, Trocheck, Adam Fox, Lafreniere. Laviolette really did something to this team, which is awesome. Great for them.
There's a lot of shots happen on this team.
Hell yeah. I mean, 217 for
when we get down
Lafreniere.
to it, I have Artemi Panarin as my regression candidate.
Samesies.
Because of all of the shots. He took so many. What did he take? Like
313 or something crazy.
He took like
or 303.
100 something more shots than he's ever taken before.
Oh,
I forget what the number is, but it's down here in the notes somewhere.
I think it's 303, and he beat it close to by almost 100. Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah.
Their offseason changes, before we get into the storylines here, they added Riley Smith and Sam Carrick. Their names are next to each other, guys. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Blake Wheeler, Alex Wenberg, Eric Gustafsson, Jack Roslovic, Barclay Gaudreau, all subtractions. I still think this is a really good team.
Later, guys.
Yeah.
I don't think they lost. I don't think they I think they're still going to be really good.
Alex Wenberg as your 3C, that's flexing. That's just whipping it out. You know what I mean? But let's get into the storylines here. Me and Zach have the same thing.
Hey.
Do you, though? I don't know.
I like Filipino.
He's fine, but
yeah,
rather have Wenberg as my 3C.
He's fine as a 3C. He's a perfect 3C. Behind Trocheck, who is the perfect second C.
Alex Wenberg is a better 3C. That's all I'm saying.
Blah.
Sorry. Anyway, storylines. Are they going to be as good? We'll see.
That's the real
I feel like, do we all three have the same one? Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yep.
I mean, it makes sense.
Pretty much.
That you asked about what question marks. I just put none.
Yep.
None. There
That's
in
true,
my
yeah.
eyes, there really aren't any question marks. They have a great defense. They have a great offense. They have a great goalie. Are they going to be as good as they were next year? And with, we're going to be talking about the Canes. I think the Canes are going to regress just in general. So they're not going to have them to worry about. The Metro isn't this murderer's
Metro's
row.
changing.
You know what I mean? They're going to sweep the floor with them people.
And that's one thing that I think I was looking at the playoff bracket. Like they definitely had the easiest route to it. Like the Washington Capitals shouldn't have been there. And then Carolina, is Carolina like a true contender, or are they kind of like on the cusp? So out of any other,
honestly, I do think that they had the team that could have gone to the Cup Finals. I do think that they had the team that they could have done it. But
my note was the same thing, right? It's like they are the best team in the league, but it's weird that it feels like they're underperforming for some reason. Like they're looking at their roster, you're like top 6 nailed, like bottom 6 great.
Because of like you have that taste in your mouth from the last thing you saw them do. I think that's kind of why you feel like that. That's my guess.
All that matters.
Well, they ran into Florida.
I get it. I do. I get it. But
running into Florida is not easy,
Yeah. And
all
in fantasy, none of that matters.
Turns out Florida was
none of the
all
finals
right.
matters.
Off-season changes. We got 2 projected top targets. What do all 3 of us have? Shesterkin as the number 1 target. 5-hole ADP of 39.3. Is he the first goalie going off the board? He very well could be, yeah. 10 really bad starts this year, career low quality start percentage. That is strange for him. Really strange for him.
That is
so
a lot of beef and cheddars.
So yeah.
You get him like $5 for $5. Just eat them all week.
Number 2 is going to be Artemi Panarin, who we literally all have as our how do you spell Panarin? Jesus, why am I like this?
It's spelled right. It's spelled right over here.
He has a higher ADP than Igor Shesterkin. I remember Panarin was always like my second round target. He's starting to creep into the first round.
It's believable, man.
He's always been an assist.
It's so good this last year.
Yeah, and I think you're probably pretty safe. He's going ahead of guys like JT Miller, Brady Tkachuk, Cale Makar as of right now. So I think he'll, as we get more mock drafts, I feel like he will kind of settle down into that early second round ADP. But I get it. Like he's a top 2 round guy, and if you want to take him at the turn of 12, like he's tied with JT Miller in ADP.
I think he's super stable. Actually, I think he's super. Like he's gonna get points. If you're in a points league, he is gonna get points.
He had 120 points this year, though. Like,
well, yeah,
he never had over 100.
He can regress hugely
wrong,
and have 100-point season.
Point per game years, which I get. That's fantastic, but he's never like this. This was crazy.
Yeah, and I agree with Raj. Like he did good enough. Like I agree with both you guys, but I feel like you're catching up on the wrong things here. Like he's gonna regress, but there's enough room for him to regress and still be a second round pick, like a first round pick.
I
even.
agree.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
No, he's gonna regress to 100 points.
You know what I mean? I don't think. Does he get 30 goals? Maybe.
To 95. Like
I got him over 100 for sure. I'd probably put him like 105, 110. I have him like at 105 ish, like between 105 and 110.
I said 100, you would take the over.
I don't think there's no chance of a Huberdeau situation here.
Exactly. True enough. Yeah.
Oh.
For me, my number 3 target was Adam Fox. Career high in points per game. He's just not like exciting because he doesn't really do much else. This was a 3-year low for shots on goal, and he blocks. So that's kind of just like he's a good defenseman to have, but he doesn't like dominate anything. He's a good guy, and I kind of have him in that first to second tier like right in the cusp. If there was a 2A tier, that's where he would be for me.
I think the hype has died down a little bit on him too, because last year he was, for good reason, but he was ranked way up there. I think it's back to sort of people talking about Makar and Hughes, and he's kind of fallen by the wayside a bit. So you might get Fox at a better deal than in the last season or two.
ADP of like right around 31, so he's kind of at the second, third round turn, right ahead of Victor Hedman, other defensemen in that range. Noah Dobson's a little bit down. Rasmus Dahlin's beating him out. So like, I see it and I agree with it. Like if Yossi, Dahlin, Bouchard are kind of ahead of him, that makes sense, and I think that tracks. Hedman, I might like Hedman more. We'll get into that. Trocheck. We all have the same 5 guys, just in different orders. So I have Trocheck next, just because he is like, you were talking about percentile ranks. He ranks so high in every single percentile. Let me see if I can pull it up here and stream it on our site. But like his player card for us is dominant. Like he is awesome. And then Mika Zibanejad. It's so easy. What do you guys like about these guys?
I actually like a little bit of a bounce back for Zibanejad, to be honest with you. He had a down year. He actually had his lowest shooting percentage year since like 2016, something like that. So I actually like a little bit of a bounce back for him. I had him at number 3. Now he's still going to get drafted pretty high just from the clear and obvious name recognition. Like there's no way he's going to fall too far, even though he did have a little bit of a lower year. But in all honesty, you think that, Artemi Panarin shot so much, maybe that's where the shots went. No, Zibanejad, attempted over 400 shots again, like he always does. They just didn't go in this year. So I think it's going to regress back to the mean for him, and he will have a better year than he did last year. So I had him in number 3, then Adam Fox at number 4, and Vincent Trocheck, who we all love, at number 5. But yep. I feel it could be interchangeable on all those, but I think the 2 solid ones are Shesterkin and Panarin at the top.
And I'm right there with you about Zibanejad, like 6-year low points per game. The last time he had 0.89 points per game this year, the last time that happened was 2021, and then he bounced right back to point per game in 21-22. This is the lowest shooting percentage he's had, like you said, since his first year in New York, so I can see that bouncing right back up. The hits took a huge nosedive, and you're going to be worried if they're coming back or not, but this is an offensive team. You do not hit players when you have the puck. He had a higher offensive zone starts than usual, and Laviolette could be using Zibanejad differently. Like you don't do a ton of hitting in the offensive zone when you have the puck. The power play units, like we said, are just cut and dried. I don't see anything changing there. I think this team kind of, outside of like Lafreniere and Miller, I don't see, like, do you guys see a ton of streamers here in terms of like depth players, value players?
I think everyone's getting drafted from New York. Like there's not going to be a ton kicking around. That's the one problem with like a few teams, and the Rangers are one of them, where anyone who's doing good is getting coverage and they're going to get picked up. Yeah.
No, Zach, really great point. And I agree with you too, Raj, because that just reminded me that like we didn't talk about Chris Kreider, who should be a top target, but we limited it to 5. So Chris Kreider, Riley Smith, I could also see getting drafted. Riley Smith right now kind of in that top line spot.
100% getting drafted. 100%.
Absolutely. 100%. And I think
Riley be a question mark for me as well.
Well, let me see. Does he have yeah, he does. Well, no, he hasn't been drafted. Riley Smith, at least not in our 5-hole drafts, but Kreider is, where's he at?
But
he's getting drafted at 67.
Have
yeah.
To hold. Like I've been there where I've had to hold on to Riley Smith for longer than I thought I was going to. And that could happen this year if he's getting anywhere in the top 6 deployment.
What's cool about Smith is he's finally starting to shoot. That was something that he like, it kind of woke up for him over the last couple of years, his last year in Vegas. And then as his career progressed, like he started to shoot more. and that was something I always kind of hated on him. He was like a one shot a game guy, but now he's like shooting.
but
So I'm down with that.
If he's going to be playing with Kreider and Zibanejad, though, there's only one puck to shoot, right? Like
True enough, yeah.
Kreider's a goal, like strictly a goal scorer. Zibanejad did flip his stats recently. Like he used to be a goal scorer. Now he's a little more all around, but
like I said, he still took over 400 shots.
Shot attempts?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how, if Riley Smith is playing with those two guys, I don't know how he's going to be getting a ton of shots.
Well, then you could say the same thing for Lafreniere being on the second line with Panarin and Trocheck. You know what I mean? They're
kind
still
of the top line.
Auxiliary points. How could they not?
That's kind of the top line.
Yeah, I'd go for that being the top line too, but yeah, that's the problem. I mean,
they have top lines. I want anybody in that top six to stream.
So Rich made a comment here with the eye test on Zibanejad that he looked worse. And to be honest, like I feel like there's still, like, he's 31, so I don't know if your comment about the age curve, maybe you're right. Like maybe he does. He is a power forward, so it could just be catching up with him pretty friggin' quickly. But I think at 31, like he just turned 31, so I feel like this is a guy that still has plenty in the tank. He's just getting kind of outranked.
How old's Trocheck?
He's a different person. He's different. He's built different.
Can confirm they are different people. He's 31. He is 84 days younger than Zibanejad.
Well, there you go.
I don't think age is the. I don't think
there you go.
But I do think there's something worth saying in the fact that like
he's falling off a fucking cliff.
You know, he looked worse. But I see the shooting percentage go down. I see the time on ice kind of shift in a certain direction. The shots kind of, they did go down too. So I think there's something there. Like his assists didn't go down really that much, but the goals is where his points were missing from, and the shooting percentage dropped, the shots drop, and there's enough there. Like if fucking Panarin is shooting 300 times a year and Zibanejad doesn't say, like, I think it's a safe bet for a bounce back. And you're right. Like the next comment here from Rich was that there is, it's a safe bet for 70 to 80 points. So I don't know. I'm right there with you. And he says there's a lot of younger players that have passed him on my draft board. And I think you're right. Like it's going to, I feel like in other years you were sad when somebody else got Zibanejad, and now there's replacement guys, right?
Absolutely. I just don't know if I'd trust a guy with that profile picture, Rich. Sorry.
So Zibanejad before was what, a
Edmonton Oilers?
What? Pretty much a second round lock.
Who's Zibanejad?
Where is he going now? Yeah, he was.
Let me look at his ADP.
Maybe. I'm sure there's people that took him in the first round, the end of the first round.
He's going 49 right now. So like right around Boldy, Caulfield, Bedard, right around Trocheck, even Fiala, Barzal.
That's crazy to think about.
Adrian Kempe. So he is kind of like surrounded by young guys. Jesper Bratt, Tim Stützle. There's a lot of guys around there that it's not exactly, you're not going to have to look far to find somebody that's going to produce the same way that Zibanejad does. So I'm right there with you. He used to be somebody that was like dominant in hits, dominant in shots, and now he's just like a 75, 80 point guy with not much else to write home about. So I'm with you. Like his profile is changing. Breakout candidates. I got Lafreniere. I don't think that that the playoff performance was a streak. Like he was against some of the hardest competition in the league. That's what the playoffs are. Granted, he had the easiest route against Washington and then Carolina, but he still, like, he put up, what did he do? 14 points in 16 games, tied for second in shots on goal in the playoffs with Trocheck, who had 5.5 more minutes average time on ice, led the team in shots on goal per 60, goals per 60. He was only behind Trocheck in points per 60. 57 points in 82 games last year, 18 in his last 20 games. Like since January 27th, that's what I have highlighted as when his heater started. he had 30 points in 34 regular season games and then 14 and 16. So this is all at even strength without top power play time. Like this is,
Yeah.
I think he's going to be in the 60s next year. Easy. Like if he hits 70, I'm not going to be surprised.
Yeah, I don't even know if like I think we all had him, but I mean like
Not me.
like I was saying earlier, like
Speak for yourself.
he had a huge drop off after being drafted number 1. But I mean, Jack Hughes, right? Like say, that happens sometimes. He's steadily improved since he was drafted. So you could call it a breakout, but it's just if he continues his trajectory, he's a great player this year
For sure.
So
With you. Rod or Zach,
I went totally off the cuff here. I went straight out of left field. I went Will Cooley. Will Cooley. He's a guy that had 249 hits last year.
Oh yeah.
With only 11 minutes time on ice.
My dude bangs.
Whole thing is yes, he bangs, dude. So he's not going to get you a ton of points, but I want to see what he does with more time on ice. Like it's always time on ice. It always comes down to it. So he had 11 minutes time on ice on average last year. Let's see what he does with even 14 minutes time on ice. He is going to continue to bang. He's at 249 hits as is. Like he would easily get up over 300, maybe to 350 on those hits. And let's see what he can do with getting a couple more points. I do think that he is moving in the right direction. And he plays his role.
He'll be in like Jeremy Luzon territory if he gets like his hits per 60 out the door. Insane.
But if you're in a banger league, that matters. Like I think he is viable. He's someone to at least having your radar is all I'm saying.
All right, boys, some work to be done here. We're at 30 minutes per team. We both have Artemi Panarin as our regression candidate, and I think it's plain to see. If anything sticks out like a sore thumb, it's the shots and the goals. But is that a Laviolette thing? It could be.
The whole thing is though, like, and this is why, like, so we talked about this earlier, like the shots correlate with the points. You know what I mean? So like it's all dependent on the shots. So it's not like he really did better well, he did do better, but you know what I mean? It's not like his stats changed. He just took more shots and everything went up along with it. So if he takes a bunch of shots again, it's likely he'll score a ton of friggin' points again. But that's what it all comes down to. Those 200 extra shots made the difference.
Yeah. 100. I gotcha. His shooting percentage kind of stayed where it always is in that 14, 15, 16 range. And shots on goal are something that is like controllable at a personal level. So I'd love to see it again. 50 goals feels unrealistic, but it's just because like 26th in shots on goal per 60 this year. Going back, he was 189th, 223rd, 137th, and his previous best in shots on goal, the one you were talking about, where he had 228 hits back in 17-18 with Columbus, he was 81st in shots on goal per 60. So if he keeps those shots up, I think he's worth every bit of a first round pick. So I get it. All three of us have Alexis Lafreniere as a sleeper candidate, and I'm with you guys. Like, obviously, you know what I mean. Like we talked about him at kind of ad nauseum already, and he makes sense.
For me, he's like the sixth. It's like on a basketball team. He's the sixth man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's who he is to me. He's the
and
sixth man.
Yeah, Rich here in the comments says like he wishes that Lafreniere gets that bumper spot on Power Play 1 over Trocheck. We'll see. I don't think
what Trocheck is.
Yeah,
Trocheck is the
it would be exciting too. Like I love Trocheck to an irrational level, but you don't demote a guy. I think this isn't going to be surprising to you here, but you don't demote a guy after a career year. Who's going to be the starter on this team, guys? Jonathan Quick. Yeah,
he's going to quickly sit on the bench and put his baseball cap on. Is what he's going to do.
solid option. Solid option, but there's no question here.
Yeah,
Probably
it's
the
just Sturkin.
Best goalie tandem in the league.
That's like the best brother duo being the Gretzky's. It's Shesterkin and Quick. I mean, Quick's good. I get it.
Quick was excellent.
He's a great backup
yeah.
goalie. I think that's a great backup goalie to have. And like
Absolutely.
you said, he's going to get automatic. He's going to get 14 automatic starts. As long as he's healthy, he's going to have 14 automatic starts from those back-to-backs. So you have to like him to pick him up during those times. Why wouldn't you? He's still playing with the same fantastic Rangers in front of him.
There were times last year where Quick was outplaying Shesterkin while Shesterkin was having a couple down weeks, and there was a narrative going around that shouldn't have gone around that Quick was going to steal the net. No, I don't know. Shesterkin over the last 3 years has the 6th most games played. He leads all goalies in wins, only trails Linus Ullmark in save percentage over 3 years. Sustained, awesome play. 4th best goals allowed average. Frederik Andersen, Ullmark, Kochetkov have better numbers. 6th in overall saves, 2nd in shutouts behind Sorokin, 4th most games played above 900. Hellebuck, Saros, and Sorokin are ahead of him. And the 3rd best in high danger save percentage last year. Over 3 years, Sorokin and Stolarz beat him. Leads all goalies in goals saved above average. Great goalie. Great goalie. Consistently great goalie.
You're right about that, though.
Pretty
Quick
good,
did play well when he was in last year.
Absolutely. Quick was awesome. Top prospects. We both have Gabe Perreault and Brennan Othman. What's up?
I'm gonna get a beer while you do this.
Heard that. We don't really have a ton. Will Cooley. I'm right there with you. But he kind of graduated, so I went towards EJ Emery, their first-round pick this year, and Brett Berard. We're going to get into the Devils now. There's a ton to talk about with the Devils. We're already an hour into this. I feel bad for hopefully Raj is the one editing this, and I don't have to. Because there's a lot to talk about here with New Jersey Devils. They have a new coach. They have a new starting goaltender.
Man, I know. Hate myself.
I feel so. I just gotta look at that. I got a Devils jersey. My mother-in-law I guess she is my stepmom. Stepmom got me a Brodeur jersey. Fucking rad. And
Marty
like 10
Brodeur
years
was awesome. Like
10 years ago, and I've been like,
get
that out of my face. Yeah. All right. The New Jersey Devils down near last year, right below 500, 38, 39, and 5. They were 25th in the league, 12th in goals for per game, but the goals allowed is what dragged them down. Their goalies were ass. They were absolute cheeks. 343 goals allowed per game, 7th most in the league. Power play was 13th overall. Off nights rank, they are tied 7th. It's like a huge tie. Tons of teams have 31s here. The question marks or kind of like storylines around this team. What do you got?
It's the goalie.
It's everything.
The goalie for me.
Everything.
No, I agree with you, but like the goalie for me is really what sticks out because man, that is so much what they needed. I'm not sold on Keefe, but being a Leafs fan, it's easy for me not to be sold on Keefe. It looked
Sheldon
like
Leaf.
It looked like you passed that to.
Oh, did we both? Yeah, we both did.
Yeah,
at the same time.
and then he took a drink. That was fantastic.
Cheers.
That was great. But yeah, so for Markstrom, it's Markstrom. That is the biggest story. Now, yes, they are changing so much. Number one, I do agree that they have they picked up some really good defensemen. But yes, Markstrom, bring your plus 900 save percentage, over to New Jersey. I think it is the biggest deal we have been talking about for so long. They needed a goalie. That's what they're missing. Now they don't have to worry about all that crap. They don't have to worry about, yes, you can have your Akira Schmid getting some starts every now and then or something like that, or one of your random goalies. But now you have a blue chip goalie. Go win games.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's absolute volume for Jacob Markstrom. Like that's what he thrives under. I remember we were talking, one of our Woodley episodes kind of highlighted Jacob Markstrom as a goalie that needs to be busy in order to thrive. And that's what New Jersey was lacking. Just on the goaltending in general. I think Markstrom, where do I have it? He was like 3rd in high danger save percentage. And where is it? Anyway, but like New Jersey was garbage at high danger goals allowed. And that's because of the goalie core that they had last year, and bringing in somebody that like Markstrom, who excels in the area that they're weak in, was a really smart move. And if he can play a ton of games, that's awesome. Off-season changes, huge. They bolstered their defense. They bolstered their net. They bolstered, in a way, their forward core. Jacob Markstrom, Brett Pesce, Brendan Dillon, Thomas Tatar, Paul Cotter, Stefan Nason. And their subtractions: Alexander Holtz, Thomas Nosek, John Marino, Kevin Ball, Capo Kakinen, Akira Schmid. They got better with every single addition. Every addition improved their team. Yeah, huge. Absolutely.
I hate, don't get me wrong, I hate losing Alexander Holtz and I hate losing John Marino. But to me, the biggest thing is that addition of Brett Pesce.
Yeah.
Like, he's not going to be someone that is super fantasy relevant. So don't get me wrong. It's not like I'm saying go out and draft Brett Pesce. But in a real world hockey situation, he literally moves the needle defensively in a positive way for that team. They are a better team defensively because of him. And it's Carolina's fault for not being able to keep him.
Great for Markstrom, great for the New Jersey Devils, and even like great for Holtz. Like, I know he would have been awesome on the New Jersey Devils, but him in Vegas now, there's a different dynamic that could be at play. There might be a little more room for him there. Projected top targets. Go ahead, Raj.
I was just gonna say, like, you remember how much we were all excited for Jersey last year, and it just didn't happen. And they got, looking at these lists, they in every aspect got way better, right? So
agreed.
I think it's exciting, and I think even simple things like a Brendan Dillon, right? Like that's a good bottom six or bottom pair
probably guy.
Pair.
He might
Bottom
be
of the
Nemec's
right?
Might be Nemec's partner. So
Yeah,
I think every step of the way this team got better. If Brendan Dillon's on your third pair, you're doing okay. So many questions around this team. I think one of them, like the biggest one, and it all trickles down from Sheldon Keefe. The biggest one that comes back is Luke Hughes versus Dougie Hamilton. Who's getting that top power play? Does Sheldon Keefe bring his you know how he was in Toronto, but was that because he only had one power play unit to put out there, or is that something that's baked into him as a coach? Like, does he throw his power play one out? Because last year it was a little more 60-40, whereas in Toronto it's like 70-30, probably 80-20 with their power play units. So whoever's on the top power play is going to be the beneficiary big time. Top targets, we're all pretty much in line here. Why don't you take us through yours, Zach?
Don't get me wrong. I like what you're saying. Like, I hear what you're saying about Luke Hughes. I think it's going to be Dougie Hamilton, so I have him on my list instead of Luke Hughes. Now, if it were so to happen that it was Luke Hughes, that would switch, and Dougie Hamilton would be kicked out. But for me, this one was pretty easy. And honestly, I might switch 2 and 3 in my head, but I'm going to stick with what I got. So I got Jack Hughes, presumptive number 1, clear-cut favorite for me. Jesper Bratt, number 2. And that's because I truly do believe in Jesper Bratt. I've liked him for God knows how many years. You're fully aware of that. Probably everybody else is too. Then I have Markstrom, number 3. I could put Markstrom, number 2. I could see it happening. I could see it working. I have Timo Meier, number 4, because you have to. Like, you have to, right? You got it. And then I got Dougie Hamilton rounding it out at number 5.
Here's one thing on this top 5, because we have the same 5 players in our top 5. There's not a player here that isn't in the top 100 of ADP. In fact, Jacob Markstrom is the quote-unquote cheapest option here, and his ADP is 77.
And I think
that's insane.
He's a great goalie to have on your team, especially.
I think he's be up there.
Like, oh man, I would love to have him as my second goalie. It'd be fantastic. You would have 2 great goalies.
Jack Hughes also my number 1 player here. 77% games played consistency. We talked about it with Patrick Laine. We talked about it with Zach Wierenski here. Jack Hughes gets injured. He's missed 23% of New Jersey games over the last 3 years. He is well over point per game in that span, 229 points in 189 games, averaging a 99-point pace. Over 4 shots a game, sustained 4 shots a game in those 3 years. The injury risk is the only thing that's keeping me away. There was a question in our Discord where somebody was like, okay, he just had shoulder surgery. How much production do we see go away as a result of it? Are you guys worried at all about this shoulder?
No. I'm more worried about
to
just...
be honest with you, I believe in Jack Hughes. I think
my problem with Jack Hughes is you kind of just said it without saying it, is he is absolutely turned into a dominant player
handsome
when he's
son of
playing.
oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. He's definitely handsomer than his brother, but he's absolutely, like, he crushes it. He's your number one player when he's in the lineup. The problem is, if you're playing in a weekly league and your number one player is out for 23% of games, you're losing those weeks probably. Like, you're losing your number one player very often. Now it's a matter of, like, and when it comes to the questions for the year, is he done with that? Like, is he the kind of guy who's gonna Malkin his whole way and play 68 games every year for his career and then be dominant for the rest and you just cry the other weeks? Or, like, that's the question to me. Like, there's no question when he's on, like, sheesh, like, he's
a 100-point player. That's the thing.
That's a given, I think.
And my justification for, like, drafting these injury, like these Band-Aid boys, right? These guys that are often injured. Even Cale Makar, like, misses 9 games a year. That's not as much as, like, a 23% of games over the last 3 years Jack Hughes has been injured for. 23%. That's like a quarter of the league. So that's like
a lot.
That's a lot. That's 20 games on a year.
Like, that's a huge difference if you're playing in a roto league or like a season-long league versus a weekly league, because those weeks you're losing your number one player for that week. And over the course of a year, it doesn't matter because he's going to still get 100 points, but that week he's going to get 0 points.
Yep.
So,
and that's always my justification is, like,
that could happen with anybody. On top of the fact
but
that
it
he's
happens...
still young. He's only 23 years old. Let's see him pack on 15 pounds.
Yeah, his injuries have been unrelated. So that's one thing that's playing in his favor. Hopefully, like Josh Norris, keeps injuring the same shoulder, whereas this is the first one for Jack Hughes. So we're going to see it.
And every single year he's played, it's happened.
And my justification every single year with, like, these injury guys is, you can get a Malkin in the 10th round. And that makes sense because a 10th round guy going on your IR plus and then a streamer for 20 games, that makes a ton of sense because you're getting, like, third round value for 60 games. And then, 20 games you're not, but you're getting a streamer spot. First round value is a lot harder and that's a harder pill to swallow if it's a first round pick in your IR plus spot. So that's where I'm kind of at.
Still the best player to take on that team.
Absolutely, 100%. In terms of shoulder injuries, like, I did a bunch of digging into this one, and what I found overall, there was a study that looked into, and I couldn't find exactly, like, I even reached out to a bunch of New Jersey Devils beat reporters just to find out what his shoulder injury was, and there was nothing. Like, they just said it was shoulder surgery. They didn't say anything. But this study specifically looks at arthroscopic shoulder labral repair, and it looks at hockey players. Over 15 years, they followed 29 players. The results from these 29 players: 25% reduction in goals per 60, 25% reduction in points per 60, 20% reduction in shooting percentage. And like I said, I'm not trying to, like, fear monger around Jack Hughes here, because I do think he's, like, point per game better, like, probably going to flirt with 100 points again.
Draft, aren't you? You're trying to lower his...
Is that what I'm doing? Yeah, I'm insider trading here. Cole Caulfield did go to the same doctor and had a similar return to play timeline. Now, those are two dots that exist. Whether or not they're connected, I don't know. Caulfield saw drops in shooting percentage by a manner of 46%, 44% drop in goals per 60, 6% drop in points per 60. His assists doubled. And shots on goal, they actually went up. So maybe technology is improving. Maybe Cole Caulfield just had a down year and there's nothing to draw from this. But, I don't know how much of this is going to apply to Hughes. So I don't know. His
Maybe
ADP just outside the first round.
Player than Cole Caulfield. Who knows?
I do. Yeah, I think so. But yeah, let's get into this Dougie Hamilton versus Luke Hughes debate. Now, Luke Hughes did it last year, and he had top power play before Dougie Hamilton got hurt December 1st. Now, Luke, up until that point, had 7 power play points with twice as much power play time on ice as Dougie, and Dougie had 8 power play points. He had more power play points with less time. Dougie doubles Luke Hughes in all strengths, point per 60, shots on goal per 60, scoring chances for per 60, high danger chances for per 60. He triples him in points per 60 and individual scoring chances for on the power play. Now, Timo Meier, Nico Hischier, Jack Hughes, Jesper Bratt, Luke Hughes, all lefties. We know how coaches get with lefties and righties and stuff. Do you want an all lefty power play? I don't know. I don't think so.
There's so much
Dougie's
PR
better
for the Hughes. Dougie is a better defenseman.
But that's that like that nepo baby bullshit. Like, is that all they're trying to do? Sell tickets? Like, oh, both the Hughes brothers are on the top power play. Watch us get 20% efficiency.
Yes, that is what they're doing.
I don't know.
Dougie is a better player. He just is. Luke might be good eventually, but statistically, he is not a better player.
No, not even close.
And Dougie is potentially and statistically one of the best.
It's gonna be Hughes-mungus.
No.
Stop it.
Dougie's
There's
the guy.
Only one
and
Hughes.
I don't know it for sure.
One Hughes won a trophy this year.
There could be only one.
Hughes-mungus was good.
All right. I think it's going to be Dougie, and I'm going to tell you why. Dougie's got a bomb of a shot. If you have a defenseman at the point that is a scoring threat, your penalty killers are going to have to press the point. Instead of just waiting around, like if all 4 penalty killers are guarding the 4 players that are actually a threat and just letting Luke Hughes go like from one end of the blue line to the other, you're going to have a worse power play. But if you have somebody that can bomb from the point, like Dougie, then your penalty killers need to start cycling. Then you start getting mistakes happening. And I really think Sheldon Keefe is going to see that. He's going to want that. You have 5 scoring threats with Dougie on the power play. You have 4 with Luke Hughes on the power play. So yeah. I think Keefe's there. This is his first year. He's going to be focused on winning, scoring, not favoritism, not nepotism or selling tickets or whatever. Like Jacob Markstrom's going to sell tickets. Sheldon Keefe's going to sell tickets. Jack Hughes coming back is going to sell tickets. They're going to be enough tickets sold. They don't need that extra shit.
Winning.
Yeah. And as soon as they start winning with Dougie Hamilton on the power play.
He's been playing on the power play his whole career.
Yeah. I mean, up until
like, why now would you take him off of it?
Up until his injury, he was
20 years old.
Up until his injury, he was second in points per 60 behind Adam Fox, third in shots on goal, fifth in expected goals, first in scoring chances, first in goals per 60, eighth in assists per 60, 12th in assists per 60, primary assists, 15th in rebounds created, 58th in power play time on ice. That doesn't track. And it's the flip side with Luke. Like Luke, after Dougie got hurt, was 26th in points per 60. Dougie was second. 67th in shots on goal per 60. Dougie was third. 64th in expected goals. Dougie was fifth. Like every single category, Dougie just dominated him in. There's not a single category where Luke was a top half, like a top half of the league QB1 on that power play. Not a single one. His best category was scoring chances for, and he was 16th. who's just barely a QB1.
Because of numbers and shit, Luke Hughes. Suck it.
I know how much you guys love
Because of
hearing
numbers.
just the words per 60 over and over and over again. But yeah, I mean, all these stats, like Dougie had those stats on the power play with Devils' second power play personnel. Like Luke Hughes couldn't even beat Dougie in per 60 stats with Jack Hughes, with Timo Meyer, like all the best players. Dougie beat him with worse players. So I think it's got to be Dougie. I'm really trying to convince myself here.
Yeah, I'm 100% in.
Jesper Bratt, first season above point per game, and it was New Jersey's worst offensive season in a while. And I think it's going to be great for him with Sheldon Keefe. Like Keefe's got his Matthews. It's Jack Hughes. He's got his Tavares. It's Heischer. Who's going to be Nylander? Is it Bratt? Is it Meyer? I don't think anybody wants to be Marner. Nobody wants to pass. Everybody wants to score. I think Bratt's going to have a Nylander type year next year.
And gets a bunch of assists.
I think it's going to be great. I think like if Bratt gets the Nylander treatment, he could be a 90+ point player. He was already 80, over point per game last year. So 90 points isn't huge. Wow. I love Keefe for Jesper Bratt. I really do.
I do
his shooting
think
percentage
Keefe
is
is going to
way
have less oversight than he did in Toronto. Like I think in Toronto, his moves were basically made between social media and management, whereas in New Jersey,
You think there was a lot of pressure on him from the fans?
100%. Do you think there was pressure on the coach of Toronto Maple Leafs?
You're right. I guess you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Like
Yeah.
I think he's gonna come into Jersey, who just fucking blew last year. Like he was, I don't know. I thought Jersey was possibly my favorite team going into last year, and
Yeah. This is a
they were
breath
under
of
500.
much needed fresh air. Like this is a rejuvenated team. Like I feel like optimism is really high for the New Jersey Devils. And that happens so often. I remember when they got Wayne Simmons. Remember that year? We were like, they're going to be really good. They're going to be really good, guys. Watch out here. And then they weren't.
I've been saying this for years. Sooner or later, I'm going to be right, man. I'm gonna be right. They're going to be really
it's like
good
the Carolina
this year.
Hurricanes. Yeah. Their
No,
power
they're
play
making
units should
positive
be...
moves. Like for real. They're making positive moves, and there's other teams that are making moves and getting worse. So
Yeah.
I'd rather take the team that
This
is
was a
literally
really
getting
good
better from what they
offseason.
were last year.
Maybe the best offseason of any, like outside of Nashville. I think maybe Jersey had the best offseason. Their depth players, their streamers, Nico Heischer. Again, we only do 5 top targets. I feel like Heischer would be everybody's number 6. And then outside of that, I feel like there's just a bunch of streamers. Like I know we love Dawson Mercer. There's guys like Andre Palat. There's going to be Thomas Tatar. Team's deep.
Nathan
Brett Pesci's going to do a little bit. Nathan Bastian, the Bang Boy himself.
Jake Allen. Jake Allen is a streamer as well.
Well, if he gets 6 games, that'd be great.
I'll
feel
take
like-
him whenever.
I don't know.
I love picking up goalies
65
when they-
games.
65. I was just going to ask, how many games do you guys think Markstrom gets? I think he leads the league next year. Like it's him and Hellebuck who lead the league.
Yeah, and Jake Allen's going to get to play against the Anaheim Ducks and stuff.
True. Yeah. Great spot start. So yeah, I'm with you there. Like if Jake Allen's up, it's for a reason, and it's probably against a layup team. 100%.
These are called streamer candidates, right? We're just streaming these people. I'm picking them
Absolutely.
up for one day, want them to do what I want them to do, and then I'm dropping you, Jake Allen. Do
Bye.
this, big guy.
Yeah. The bounce back or breakout candidates. I just had Timo Meyer. Like I didn't like his year last year. I feel like again, this is every year. I say Timo Meyer is going to bounce back every year because he had one good year. He's just Oliver Ekman-Larsening me, and I really want to see it.
Up, down, up, down, up, down.
Oh yeah. Well, no, it's mostly like down, more down, down, more down. But I'd love to see him up again. He was up, but he was a big fish in a small pond in San Jose, and that's what really worked for him.
Yeah,
If he's
it
gonna
worked
play with
for him
Jack
then,
Hughes,
and
he's
then
not gonna get
he
the shot.
just shizzed the bed. I love Timo Meyer's picture. He's got a serious like blue steel thing going on.
All right, regression. Oh, you don't. Okay. Regression candidates. Let's hear it.
Oh,
Mhm.
you're talking to me, huh? I don't want to. I don't want to say it. Like I don't want to say it out loud because I don't want to
Is it
get. I
because
don't
you
want
know
to
you're
get.
wrong, or you think I'm going to fight you? I think
No,
Brett
I
does
don't
better
think
next
that I
year.
don't think that I'm wrong. I don't want it to be true because I think he's the only viable person to put in
Yeah.
this situation. Okay, so I
Luke
put
Hughes.
Brat down here. He is the only logical answer. Um, I love him, and I want to see him get back to that 80 points again. But in the 2 years prior, he's had 1730 time on ice and had 73 points both years. His first year back, coming in, 19 plus points. That's
Yeah.
where it mattered. Like, I've been saying this all show so far. It's about the time on ice. And again, it's about the damn time on ice. He got a minute and a half extra time on ice.
Close to
All
2
of a
minutes.
sudden
4
was an
minutes
80
shy.
player.
4 seconds shy of 2 minutes extra time on ice.
So really, the only reason I have him on here as a regression candidate is because he did so good. And it's not like anybody else, in my mind, overproduced. In fact, a lot of people I truly feel underproduced, which I'm sure you would agree with.
Yeah.
So I have him as the only person that did overproduce. So therefore, he's the only person viable to have as a regression candidate.
I have Luke Hughes, and I feel like it's only because he is, in my mind, not going to get the top power play. I think it was 27
If he doesn't get it,
or
yeah.
25 of his 47 points were power play points. If he loses top power play, that's brutal for him. Absolutely brutal. He doesn't shoot. He doesn't hit. He doesn't block. He's just not going to be rosterable if he's not top power play, and that's what it's going to be. Like if he loses that, it's over for him. So yeah, 25 of 47 points were power play points. So Dougie does cost a lot more by way of ADP. So is it Luke? I think there's still an argument there. Luke was on that top unit during the first 22 games, and up until Jack Hughes got hurt, they had the number one power play in the league. And after Jack Hughes got hurt, and at the same time, Dougie got hurt. But I think Jack is the one that was doing the heavy lifting on the first unit. They went 3 for 31, under 10% on the power play in January, 0 for 23 in February. 16.8% after Hughes and Dougie were injured. So it was not a good power play. Bad power play. Keefe's going to go in. He's going to put the good guy on the power play. It's Dougie. So, see you, Luke.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
All right.
So sleepers next?
I guess. Like, if Luke gets... I don't see a sleeper here, to be honest, on this team.
I have Palat down here as a sleeper just because I see him as forgettable, and he's someone that's going to automatically be in that top 6. He's a guy that's going to get decent time on ice. He's always going to be out there when the points are scored. I think he's a solid sleeper candidate of somebody who can be pick-upable later down the line. You are not drafting him.
Yeah.
I know you have Mercer a little bit.
Kind of.
I had him as a breakout because
I want
to him in that top 6 situation. I would like to see him on a line with Jack Hughes. I think that would be awesome. Because I think that they'll split up Hughes and Bratt, so it won't be so heavy on that top line anymore. So I think you're going to get more depth out of the top 6. Mercer being in that top 6, I think it's going to be good for him. So I like him there.
I think Keefe is going to load that top line. I think it's going to be Meyer, Hughes, and Bratt. And then your second line is going to be Palat, Heischer, and Mercer.
Don't do it. That's a bad idea.
That's what I see.
That's a bad idea.
Yeah, but I'm with you. Like, I'd love to see more out of Mercer. Goalie situation. I see a 75, even like an 80-20 split for Markstrom here. And he's so good when he's playing a lot. New Jersey Devils were 21st in expected goals last year. And Markstrom's best year in Vancouver was 18-19. And I know Markstrom's 5 or 6 years older by now because that's how time works. But the expected goals of Vancouver that year wasn't much different. It was 2.47 that year in Vancouver. It was 2.63 in New Jersey last year. So he's coming into a team where the defense got better. He is good at what New Jersey is bad at. So I don't know. I just think this is a good fit, but there's just so much question marks around this team that it's hard for me to like lock it in, truly lock it in. Like everything on paper looks so good, but how often does what's on paper actually play out in hockey, you know?
Well, I'm 100% after Markstrom in drafts this year. Like 100%. Like having seen him in Vancouver and the way he responds to like exactly what you're saying, like he needs shots, he needs games. And he was not thrilled to be in Calgary the whole time. Like there was no time where he was excited to be in Calgary, and he is a guy who again, from just being a Canuck for a bunch of years there, he absolutely thrives on being the guy in a busy situation. And New Jersey is so good, and he gets to be the goalie. And I think he's absolutely the perfect goalie for this team. I think I would be putting money down on Jersey if you're a betting person to do all kinds of things above their line. So for sure.
I love the fit. Top prospects, we're pretty close. I only had 2. I thought I had 3, but I guess I didn't. We're both in on Anton Silyev. Huge guy. He's so tall.
He's a BFG. BFG, dude, he is 6'7". He's big as shit.
Seamus Casey is another good one.
Another defenseman. They have 2 like their 2 best prospects. We both have the same 2.
Yeah.
Really good defensemen. Like those are their top prospects right now are all defensemen. So that really bodes well for the future of that defense. I like it a lot. And then I put Miguel Yegorov as the third person here. I do like him. He was the second goalie taken in this year's draft. There, like we said before, there was a ton of goalies that went in the second round. I think 5 of them. He was the second goalie taken, right behind Nabokov, who I would say everybody had as their number 1. So I like him being third on this list.
I'm with you. All right, that's going to bring us to our last team here, Carolina. Overall record 52, 23, and 7. They were third in the league. Goals for, they were 8th. Goals against, they're 4th. They're always good defensively with the shot, Corsi, all that stuff. Their power play was second best in the league. And for off nights, they are tied with New Jersey as part of that huge tie with 31 games. Back-to-backs, they have 16. Question marks. What do you guys think? What is the biggest question around this team? I think it's pretty like the opposite of New Jersey. Everything New Jersey did,
everywhere.
Carolina did the opposite.
New Jersey got better. Carolina just got worse.
Decimated.
Here, so they still have the 6th best odds as far as Vegas is concerned to win the cup next year.
Yeah,
I think
pass.
that is so crazy out of line. I wish. Is there like, and I'm serious, is there a bet that we can make for that to just not happen or anywhere close to it? Like, I might bet that they miss the playoffs next year.
Yeah,
like,
you'd probably have pretty good odds. They lost their second pairing. They lost Teuvo Teravainen. They lost Jake Gensel. And it's still up in the air whether or not they're losing their second line center. For all he was worth, I think he had like fucking 16 points last year or some. Like, he was just not good. Kuznetsov. But like they are.
But at the end of the day, it's just another one on that.
Brutal.
Yeah, they got so much worse. Brett Pesce leaves, Brady Shea leaves. They got Gostisbehere and Walker. They lost Gensel. They got Roslovic. They lost Teravainen. They got who else did they get? They fuck, man, this is not good. They got William Carrier. Yeah. Bad. Like bad offseason for Tulski in his first offseason. That no wonder Don Waddell fucking left.
Is Svechnikov the like not the most under-realized player in the last bunch of years. Like, what did
Well,
he have
that's a
last year?
huge.
50 points, 52 points or something like that.
I'm never interested in drafting Svetch. Just not. Like, don't get me wrong, he's great. I'd love to give it a try sometime, but I'm not willing
No.
to pay what everybody else has him at.
Yeah, and that's the toughest part is like Rod Brindamore, he's famous for blending his lines, and I don't know, man. Like it does Svechnikov finally break out? Like every year, just like we're calling for Boston to fall off, we're calling for Svechnikov to fucking break out. And I just don't fucking believe it anymore. I don't know. We've been waiting forever.
It's another team with no shooters. Like, there's no... Aho had 217 shots, but, like, nobody else is
But he
trying
loves to
score.
pass. He loves to pass.
Svechnikov, he could,
He likes to pass,
but he
he's
just
by
doesn't.
far the biggest shooter on the team. Like, there's nobody who wants to score goals. And it's
Svech just hasn't played. Like he's played like just the same as what is it? 201 out of 246 games. He's played 80%, 81% of Carolina's games over the last 3 years. And the 1 year that he played 78 games, he had 250 shots. It's not like that's not a world beater, but he can shoot.
Mhm.
And I just keep making up excuses for Svech, and I don't know. I'm kind of sick
But
of it.
everybody does. It doesn't seem that way. Everybody
Yeah.
does. Everybody's making excuses for Svetch.
Always the biggest argument for him is like, oh, if he gets like Rod Brindamore just won't give him the minutes he deserves. Like Gensel was out of this world, and he had 3% more time on ice than Svechnikov did.
Yeah. Gensel kicked ass
Right.
in Carolina.
Yeah.
Good.
So he
Not so
might
much
just
for
be.
playoffs, but,
I think I started saying this last year. Like he might just be a 75-point guy with good shots and hits. Not even great shots and hits, good shots and hits. So I think, and I don't know. This will be the year
I just
too.
don't see
Like
it.
he's just
And-
gonna.
and the losing Gensel. Losing Gensel is awful. Losing both Shea and Pesci is doubly
Worse.
awful.
Yeah.
Like their defense is horrible. Now they lose Shea and Pesci, and they bring in Shane Gostisbehere. Something doesn't add up here. It doesn't.
Yep.
Doesn't
Sean
add
Walker?
up. You're losing two really good defensemen who play
Mhm.
defense.
So based
Shane
on that,
Gostisbehere is a defenseman that does not play defense.
do you think
It-
Ghost gets top power play as a result? Like, do they have to allocate Burns' minutes in other places to make up for 5-on-5, yada, yada, yada? Like, does Ghost get
So-
the Keith Yandel treatment? 14 minutes time on ice, but 8 of them are power play minutes.
I have that somewhere in here on this. But like I have that as a possibility. That's the
Yeah.
only reason I think that Shane Gostisbehere would be viable is because now with Brett Pesci and Brady Shea gone, Brent Burns is going to have to. He's going to be spread so thin. He's going to
Yeah.
have to play. He's going to be the anchor on that penalty kill now. He's going to be out there for a ton of minutes on regular 5-on-5. The fact that every now and then he gets to sit down on the bench for a little bit while everybody else is on the power play,
Just letting
is
goals
the
in?
only reason.
Yeah.
It's the only reason he might not get it. So I could
He's-
see Shane Gostisbehere actually getting it for that reason alone, because
He's also
they
like,
need Brent
like
Burns to play
56
every other
years
night.
old.
Yeah, he's 40.
And
He's
he still plays but he's
Yeah.
still a better defenseman than Shane Gostisbehere at defense.
he's got one of
Still
the
better
he's
at
got one of the
defense.
best track records in hockey. Like he plays fucking 95% of the games. So they're gonna need to like take it easy with him. I do think Ghost takes the power play. There's a couple
Ghost
mock
had-
drafts where I took I took Burns as kind of like I thought it was a sneaky pick, but the more I think about it, the more I think Ghost is like that Tony D'Angelo of a few years ago.
Ouch. And I mean, like, yeah, just look at the percentage of points coming from the power play too. Like, Ghost had 29
Well-
power play points.
This comment that just came in, I don't know. Like you're also so the comment here is with Carolina's losses, Fetch is going to have more points as there's less high quality players to get points. See Forsberg and Nash. This is on the assumption that yeah, I know. This is under the assumption that they're going to score just as many goals this year. The team got worse. They're going to score less goals. So he could still be a 72-point player on a team that's not going to be that's where I'm kind of headed. Like, is he just a 75-point guy? You know, he didn't see a ton more minutes than he saw 3% less time on ice than Gensel, and Gensel was just a better player over point per game, and Svech just didn't do it.
Sometimes
so,
it's
I don't know.
Like
this is going to be the year he's going to egg all over my face, though.
Yeah, most of the times it's your environment helps. Like look at like Zach Hyman. Look at like guys like, you get in the right situation, you get in a proper situation.
Nino Niederreiter had more points on that top line.
Oh my God.
Than Gensel or than fucking Svechnikov did when he was in Carolina.
Yeah, brutal.
No, you did.
Well, I think he had like 18 points in 19 games or something. Better point per game pace than Svechnikov had with 3%. Like if you look at Svechnikov's Wowie pages, with or without you, like his most common line mate was Aho. So I don't know. Like it's not. I don't know. Does he get top power? Like consistency and Rod Brind'Amour are just not going to go. And I do really think that like continuity is a huge part of hockey players' comfortability, knowing where a player is, being able to make those no look passes, trusting your line mates and stuff. And Brind'Amour is not the guy for that.
I think Brind'Amour has to go. Bold statement.
I know he's so good. This is going to be the year though, because I truly think like Carolina dips hard this year.
They need some. They need some.
And it's not a super hot take because the team on paper got so much worse. So much worse. They lost their entire second pair.
So that would be something.
Well, they had to keep him. And like I said earlier, I think I know why Don Waddell left. Maybe he saw this writing on the wall. And like still have to get Nietzsche's done. They still have to get Jarvis done. They have to get Jack Drury done. And I think they have like 14 million to work with.
Which really is the reason I think they didn't sign Gensel.
That's why. Yeah, they couldn't.
They couldn't afford him.
They couldn't find a partner for Nietzsche, so I wonder if they were trying.
Yeah, I'm sure if Nietzsche wasn't there, Gensel would be, and I think that they would be a better team at that rate. But
yeah,
it comes down to that. I think what I'm hoping is it looks like a whole bunch of money is going to come off the books next year. So after next season, they should hypothetically be able to make a ton of moves, get a bunch of players in, and actually spend money. Now,
I wonder if it's just like a retool year.
Is Tom Dundon going to actually do that, though?
He doesn't like spending money.
He does not like spending money.
Yeah.
He doesn't like paying his, top players a lot of money. That's why we're in this position. Now, if that changes, that's going to be awesome because they really are going to have a ton of cap space to work with. But like we're saying, I just don't see it. It's not Tom Dundon's style. He wants to get all that money off the books so he can make extra money. Like,
it's corporate.
Billionaire for a reason.
So to this comment here, WMW Animations, I think there's one way where this could work. Like this, if Svechnikov, if this could in some way be a good thing for Svech, I think one way that it could be, but it also relies on Rod Brind'Amour sticking with lines. Do you not have enough good players to spread it out? You know what I mean? Like, do you have to stack the top line, top power play now just based on the way that the team is composed? Does Svechnikov get more minutes as a result of your bottom six being the way it looks?
Trash.
It's a top-heavy team, that's for sure. I mean,
it always was, though. The bottom six was never really anything that was going to blow your skirt up, man. But they played good team defense. That at least they were able to keep like your Jordan Stahl and your Jordan Martinook, But man, Stahl is, how old is he now?
He's old.
And
The one line that Brindamore does not touch is that third line. And I kind of wanted to segue into, like, if Kuznetsov's gone, who's this second line center? Is it Jack Roslovic and his 43% faceoff win percentage, or is it Kakiniemi and his 49% faceoff win percentage? Is it Nietzsche, who is kind of a center, and his 36% faceoff win? Like, what do you do at second line? Is it Jordan Stahl?
But
does he break that lineup?
That's part of the reason why Martin Nietzsche wants to be traded or wanted to go to another team, because he wants to be a center. You know that, though.
I wonder if they put him at 2C then. Yeah,
that's part of the whole reason. So, in all honesty, if Kuzi is gone, man, then you could move. You would have to move Nietzsche over. You would have.
I don't know how you could have a 36% face-off win percentage and be like, "Come on, put me in, coach." Like,
you think he's gonna go Nietzsche,
and then hope like a Rykov comes over because he's right winger, isn't he?
Well, and then Fast or Kotkaniemi going up there. I don't know.
I think Roslovic will be on that.
Have to replace a right winger somewhere.
Bradley Nadeau
is
ready. I think one of their prospects, you said Rykov. I think Bradley Nadeau is somebody that's going to be making camp. So if he can wind up,
he's going to be at camp. He might make the team. You're right.
That's what I'm saying. So I wonder if he's that.
Going to be at camp.
Yeah, I wonder if he's the guy that makes that second line. Like,
he's not.
So that's such a liability.
Over Jordan Stahl.
And people have been loving on Jackson Blake.
I wonder if that's a liability as your second line.
Stahl is probably
people have been really talking highly about him.
So they're gonna have to do something, especially like if they only have, like, if Kuznetsov is gone, that's 3.9 million that frees up. So then it's gonna be a little easier to get Nietzsche done, who's probably landing in around 6 million, and then you have 8 million to give. Drury and Jarvis as bridge deals. So that it can definitely happen. I think there's an avenue for that to happen. Depth players, like streamer candidates. We're kind of on the same line here, but Raj, I feel like I haven't heard from you. Who do you got as depth players?
On Carolina?
I'm gonna have me a little gummy. Lines 2, 3, and 4. You have plenty of players to choose from.
Can I choose players from other teams?
You might have.
I don't know. Like it's there's a few options, right? Like if I'm coaching this team, I'm definitely not fighting Brindamore to coach this team. But if I was coaching this team, I'm looking pretty hard at Stahl as the second line center, and in which case he's very good. If you're in a face-off league, Stahl is excellent. But I think he's there.
What question? Oh,
huh?
The comment? Zach wrote in the chat. What's that question say? Which one? This one?
What question? But I mean, Roslovic played center on other teams, but I don't think he's gonna play center on this team. He definitely doesn't seem like a Brindamore center. I see a lot more chance of Stahl coming up to center, in which case he's old as shit and he is what he is, but I think he's a very solid player, and if you have face-offs in your league, he's a guy.
He's the guy. He's gonna wind up.
He's gonna get blocks. He shoots sometimes. If he's on the ice with players, like here's what's like, he had more goals than Kuznetsov, Roslovic, Fast. Like he's a fine player. But I don't know.
That sucks. This team.
I'm not super stoked on Carolina. Like, no. I think Carolina is way shittier, and I was already.
Nobody's
they win
on Carolina.
Yeah,
Carolina wins because of they have won because of the structure and the coach and the system, and I think it's run its course.
Yeah, you're not gonna out Corsi teams if you have Shane Gostisbehere on your team. It's not gonna happen.
No,
you
it's
can't.
just
I have him as a depth player though.
So do I, because I think he'll be power play.
If he does get that power play, then I have him as a legit candidate to get drafted.
Yep, he is getting drafted at 121 ADP. Burns is 137. So ADP has spoken.
So
Shane
people
Gostisbehere
believe he goes
has
more.
the public's opinion for Power Play 1. And I'm right there with you guys. Like, I think that's right. Breakout candidates. Raj, did you have something on something?
No, I don't.
This is
I
a
mean,
tough team to talk about now.
The one guy who could break out, I guess, comparatively to last season is Svechnikov. I mean, he had bullshit points. He had 52 points or whatever, so he could break out compared to that.
Would it count? Would it count as a breakout? Like, we've been waiting so long for it to happen. If it does happen, does it actually count?
406 games right now. That 400 game threshold, man. He's there.
Like, it would be more of a comeback, or I don't know, but I just don't see. I don't know. I don't see Nietzsche getting more than 24 goals. I don't see Jarvis getting more than 33 goals.
Yeah, Jarvis is my regression. He's my regression guy, I think.
Roslovic, 31 points. Maybe he'll beat that, but that's not really fucking worth talking about. I don't know. I think it's either...
Jarvis played through a ton of injuries last year. A ton of injuries.
I think it's either Stahl's 30 points are going to increase or Svechnikov's 52 points are going to increase.
52 and 58. So it's close to point per game. I know, raw totals. That's all you got if you drafted him, but he was still.
Yeah, I mean, like I love per 60s, I love per games, I love all that stuff, but they have 0 points in all of those other games. So
True enough.
The answer, my friends, is Jack Drury. That is
for
the
a breakout
correct answer. Yes, that is the correct answer.
Is this inside Carolina information or what?
We have to name
He saw his
someone.
phone number on a men's room stall. That's what happened.
Yeah, call Jack Drury for a good time on fourth line center.
Yeah,
so it's another thing
in the playoffs.
Boy needs to get more time on ice. And if we're losing a center in Kuznetsov, you'd have to think he's going to get some more time on ice. So that may be good things for Jack Drury. He also did. He did get an extension, I believe. I think you
already
said earlier that he had.
Yeah, I think he's one of the RFAs.
I think that he got one done. I thought for some reason.
Did it happen today?
No.
All right. I'm gonna look into Riley Stillman agreed
maybe it
to
did, but I know that they're very much so. He's gonna get an extension. It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And the whole reason is it's not gonna be. They're keeping the cheaper guys. They're not. It's not gonna cost them an arm and a leg to keep him. It's just not. So I think Jack Drury gets more time on ice, more than the 12 minutes that he's getting now, and I think he could move forward.
He's still an RFA. I'll have to deep dive that one a little bit, but I think he's still an RFA. He's arbitration eligible. Seth Jarvis is a not arbitration eligible, so he's just going to get, I think he's, what do they call it, like a 10.C or something, like some special RFA where he doesn't really have a ton of say in what they give him, so he just kind of has to take it. But Nietzsche and Drury are both arbitration eligible. We'll see what they get. I don't know. For me, my regression candidate is Jarvis. 33 goals last year. That was half his point production. His shooting percentage, it's 3 seasons, so it's not fair to trend it out yet, but it was 15.45, then it was 7.5, and now it's 18.5. So up and down over 3 years, and so crazy up and down. We'll see. It could wash out because he's a really good primary points producer. So not relying on anybody else. 53 of his 67 points were either goals or primary assists. So he's a play driver. And when you have a play driver like that with a low IPP, which he did have, it might wash out. So he could probably still be a 65, 70 point guy, especially if he's on that top line. We'll see. I wanted to say on Jack Drury, there's a lot of wingers that double as centers. So does he get more time? We'll see. Or do they just take one of these dual eligible guys and throw him in center? Maybe. Sleeper candidates, I got Gostisbehere. His ADP isn't really sleeper worthy because he's getting drafted above Burns, and so it's kind of obvious. But yeah, I like Urisak.
Fyodor Kochetkov?
Yeah, because Freddie, he won't stay healthy. He never stays healthy.
I don't trust him. I don't trust you, Frederick Anderson. And if anybody does, then you drank some Kool-Aid. Don't get me wrong. He played fantastic last year when he played, but he only played in 16 games. He went 13-2 in that span. But dude, he just doesn't play enough. Kochetkov over 40 plus games had like a 9-11 or something last year, which is fantastic. Fantastic. And
really good rate stats too.
He was seen, it's not like he was seen like earlier we were talking, oh, well, Jake Allen's going to get to play against the Anaheim Ducks and stuff like that. No, Kochetkov was taking the hard assignments. You know what I mean? He was. They were trying to find anybody that could fill that role. And man, he did. Honestly, I wish that and I talked with people down here a lot at that time, especially when in that series where they were getting their ass kicked. I was telling people they should have started Kochetkov earlier than they did. You know what I mean? I think that he should have gotten that third game, and he didn't. It was unfortunate. But yeah, I think that Kochetkov should should get more starts this year. I don't think
what's interesting?
I just don't.
Kochetkov is getting drafted higher than Frederick Anderson, which I think is not only the right thing.
Insane. That's fucking insane.
Yeah. 177 ADP for Freddie, and Kochetkov is, where's he at? Let me look. 158. So they're both up there. 14th, 15th round guys.
Have you seen is nobody looking at the Freddie's stats from last year? Or
he was good. He was gonna get hurt.
Incredible last
year.
Yeah,
his knees are going to explode. His knees will explode. That's what will happen. There's no anti-Ronta this year.
How it works? Your knees don't explode.
Watch, they'll happen. Game 15.
He played fucking 15 games and had 3 shutouts. 184 goals against, 932 save percentage.
Yeah, well, they were also way better defensively last year.
Raj, how are you gonna shit talk?
How do you think that's gonna go with
Svechnikov? You're not gonna give Svechnikov the point pace, but we're gonna talk about Anderson here for 15 games. It's the same thing. The rest of the games were zeros.
They were zeros, and that's the thing with goalies. But do you think he's going to be injured for the entire season again? I don't think so. I just don't. I don't think.
I'll bet you.
I think he's going to play 55 games and be one of the top 5 goalies in the league.
All right, let me hold on.
Can I take that bet? Can I take that one?
Yeah, timestamp that. Whatever you want.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys. He's another guy who does well with his volume. He's not going to keep getting injured. He's not.
But I think if we were fully healthy, both goalies for the whole year, I still have this as like a 50-50 timeshare. Kochetkov was good. Like Zach said, he played against quality competition, and Anderson was good too. So to have a tandem like that. And not only that, but even if Anderson gives us a fully healthy season, don't you want to mitigate any risks? Aren't you going to 50-50 your platoon there? Can you? I don't know.
I don't know. I just think
the guy that gets hurt, you might not want to play him as much.
I just don't think so. I just don't think so. And that's why I'm the coach of this team.
There it is.
No, I don't. I do not think so. I think Freddie is a great goalie, and yeah, he's had injuries. I would definitely stretch out my injuries while I was playing for the Leafs as well, and I just think that his numbers are better, his percentages are better, especially given a defensively maybe not as good team. He's gonna do it. He's going to have more experience with that. I just think that he is going to play at least 50 to 55 games, no question.
I think if he stays healthy, like that's one that could definitely happen. I could see it, but I also think that like Kochetkov is good enough to play 40 games. So that's kind of where I'm at. For personally, I think it's a 50-50 split.
You also
best
gotta
case
remember,
scenario.
like the reason that but it was a blood clotting issue though. It's not like it was an injury. Like, wasn't that his problem this past year?
Yeah.
Like, it just wasn't safe for him to play because of blood clots.
Yeah, it's
Like, that's a
some
way
pills.
Some
bigger
blood
that's a way
thinners.
bigger
Pills, and
issue.
that's
It's a
fine.
way bigger issue than, blowing out your knee.
Nah. Take some blood thinners, get in the
Blood
fucking-
thinners, yeah. We'll see. I think that
You
could
have an
be
aneurysm
huge
while you're on
value.
the ice.
There could be your sleeper. That could be your sleeper. If fucking Anderson is getting drafted at 177 and he gives us a fully healthy season, that's about as
his blood
sleepery
thinners
as you
don't
can get.
work and he dies, that's a sleeper.
Wow.
Womp womp.
Dark
All
way
right.
to end it, TJ.
Yeah, top prospects. Alexander Nikishin, fucking BFG, 6'4", 250 pounds, absolutely tearing up the KHL next year. He is signed, I think, through this year. So when he comes, I think, like, don't quote me on that, but I think he's got one more year in SCA, and then he can come over. And
He's like one of the best prospects on any team.
Yes, 100%. So maybe
Like,
this
that's
year
how good
is.
he is.
Maybe this is a throwaway year for the Carolina Hurricanes. Like you said, they're going to have a ton of money going into next year. They can give themselves the facelift that they need, bring back some talent, and maybe pay some players. That would be cool. Maybe let Brent Burns go to his fucking ranch and just live out his life being an absolute badass. Ron Swanson,
He'd love it.
Yeah, let him go. Let him go.
All
right,
I do like their pipipeline though. We
Yeah.
talked a little about Bradley
Nadeau, sure.
earlier. I think that he is a guy that is definitely going to be at camp, and has a good chance of making the roster. He's a center, I believe. Scott Morrow also a center, I think. Don't quote me, but I think so. And Jackson Blake I have here on just because I wanted to bring him up. Because
Scott Morrow was a defenseman, to be honest with you. Maybe I'm way off.
Shit. No, you're right. Nikishin, is he?
Yeah, he's a
Nikishin
defenseman.
is definitely a D man. He's definitely a D man. Scott Morrow, is he?
Yeah, he's a
Bradley
defenseman.
Nadeau is
All right.
Bradley Nadeau is definitely a center. He is definitely a center. 100%.
Yeah, throw him on the wing. Let him be second line winger. Fuck it.
But yeah, Jackson Blake. Like I said, we were talking about right wingers earlier. I think he's the best right winger in their system. He's a little bit older, but he is. Not saying like he's fantastic, but I see him as like a young Jordan Martinook. Like he's one of those players that it's said he just does things the right way, kind of.
All right, that's all I got, man. I mean, I'm gonna have to fucking do a bunch of. We're gonna have to cut this back on the next one. Hey,
I'm tired.
Yeah, we're gonna have to really cut this back on the next episode. But for those of you that made it through this fucking behemoth of a getting the rust off top line back together type episode, be sure to engage with the show in some fashion to get your Dauber Prospects Fantasy Guide, or not Prospects, Dauber Fantasy Guide going into next year. We got 15 of those, 12 of those to give away, one for each of us. And then 12 for the rest of the world. We got them.
I feel like you're like over here like a little rat or like Mr. Burns. Just
time to look at the numbers. Yeah, I'm all over it. Yeah, this gummy's kicking in. The margarita's kicking in. It's fucking after midnight. There it is. Metro Part 1. You guys can find us on Twitter at FHF Hockey. We guys hope you digged it, dug it, whatever. And catch us in the Discord, catch us on Twitter, and catch us next time for the next Metro. Raj, great to have you back, brother. Missed the top line. And that's it. No way. What else can your fucking Mac do? That's rad.
I don't know. All that shit's happening by itself, dude.
That's awesome. That was
honestly, I thought
awesome.
I thought that I cracked my back, and I just got a little
right?
shot of
little flashback.
Yeah, I was like, oh, cool. We're
little
going through
2000
this right now.
little 2014 LSD coming back. That's it.
It's been aging.
That's
It's been
it.
aging,
Be
my
so
son.
popular.
You bring us out. Should I bring us out with the fucking what do I got? I'm not gonna do it with the mock draft video. But anyway,
do we have music?
Hard work, steal.
I have that one, but it's the mock draft video. Anyway, guys, that's it for us.
Do you have the outro music?
I don't have the outro music laid in, but yeah, I'll figure it out because I have to get like actual music because these are video clips and the one fucking says mock draft. There's probably people thinking we were doing a mock draft, but that's it for us, guys.
If they're 3 hours in and they're not gonna they're not expecting a
When
mock draft
when does
right
the
now.
draft start? I swear they haven't fucking picked a single guy yet.
Okay, everyone.
This is the
flip over to
longest first round ever.
Flip over to Kill Tony, but keep our audio on for like 45 seconds.
There you go. All right, y'all. That's it for us. Catch you next time. Love yous.
Love you.
Bye. There they are. That's beautiful.
Super.
All right. And